After the war, we know that many people put ads in the newspapers looking for their family members after the time of freedom. And the Freedmen's Bureau, which was stationed here at McLeod, helped in that process. The Freedmen's Bureau was a group, an institution, organization that was settled here in many other parts that was designed to help formerly enslaved people get up on their feet. Food, medicine, and clothing. But what they managed to do was set forth an agenda for the formerly enslaved, and they did a Herculean task. Given how little they had, they helped bring families together, they helped set up those first schools, and they were actually right here at McLeod Plantation.
In South Carolina, when it was colonized, it wasn't really colonized for the same reasons in the Northeast. It was religious persecution. This Charleston story is very much feels like a business. It's all about making money or whatever. The Lord proprietors were given this area, and then the enslavement felt like it came as an extension of how do we make money.
There's no question. And in looking at that piece of it too, the connection for Charleston and Barbados is another interesting piece of this story, because that is what in fact brought some of those early planters here. They were looking for space to expand and people to grow, and of course that would be the enslaved people who would bring all their knowledge with them. Everything they learned, everything they did to make planters wealthy, they didn't learn it in the hulls of those ships. They brought it with them, which means they were already doing it back home. So this waterway would be pivotal, both for those souls who would come here. If we were to go to the ride, we'd end up back downtown in the harbor of Charleston. If we were to go 3 months more, 8 to 12 weeks, depending on weather conditions, then we would end up on the west coast of Africa. After the period of enslavement, people would take their fruits and vegetables downtown, sell them door to door in Charleston, and then come back here. That's for many people who lived in McLeod after that time frame. When we think about this water, we also think about it as an escape point for a man named William Dawson and 9 others who left McLeod in 1862. We think that they went to the left, went around the Stone, ended up at Folly, where they presented themselves to the Union. They would have been considered contraband, so they would not have been returned to McLeod.
Contraband meaning that they were basically war spoils or something like that?
In effect, yes,
yeah,
exactly.
So okay.
And they had a measure of protection as a result. William would go on to serve 2 terms, and his 3rd wife would get his pension. I'm so honored that we now know his descendants, and they have come to McLeod to hear a little bit about their story. The one thing that intrigues me is they took a lady with them named Rose. Rose had a 14-month-old baby, and I wonder whatever happened to her. How did she survive with a baby in the midst of all that? But it also tells us how bad things were that they would risk leaving at that time.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the messy parts of living in the Low Country. It's so beautiful on one level.
And then there's the horror on the other.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
There's so much more to explore, and we want you to join us on The Good Road.
For more in-depth content, meet us on the internet at thegoodroad.tv.
Hear more great stories, connect to organizations, and make sure you download our podcast, Philanthropology.